worshipped has got two names, Hari Das and Hari Dev. So can you tell me what is Hari Das and what is Hari Dev? So Hari Dev is, when we call Govardhan Hill, when we say Govardhan Hill is Hari Dev, then it means Govardhan Hill is God. And Hari Das means we're referring to Govardhan Hill as the servant of Krishna. So one can worship Govardhan Hill as Krishna, in other words Vishnu, because it is said that Vishnu, Brahma and Shiva appeared and joined in Krishna Leela, isn't it? They all joined in. And Lord Shiva became what hill? Nandishwara, and on Nandishwara, Nanda Maharaj had his palace. And Lord Brahma became Bharasana, and who lived there? Radharani. And then Lord Vishnu became Govardhan Hill. So one can worship as Govardhan, as Vishnu or Krishna, Govardhan Hill, or one can worship as the servant. And there's, in the prayer, Raghunath Das Goswami's, I offer my respectful obeisances unto Hari Das Giri Nirapa Hari Das Shreni Vaiti Nama Amritam Uditam Shiradika Vakrachandrat Vraja Nava Tilakadve Kapde Videsputame Nijanikete Navasade Govardhanam Tram. Raghunath Das Goswami prays, O Govardhan, whose nectarian name, the best of Lord Hari's servants, emanated from Radhika's moon-like mouth. You are the king of mountains, and the Vedas describe you as the new Tilak of Braj. So Radharani is referring to Govardhan Hill as the best of Lord Hari's servants, not as Krishna. So this is the other mood that you can worship Govardhan Hill in, as Hari Das, servant of Hari, like that. In other words, devotee. So now my question is, which is it better, to worship Govardhan Hill as Hari Dev or Hari Das? How many people think or would like to worship Govardhan Hill as Hari Dev? Raise your hand. And how many people would like to worship Govardhan Hill as Hari Das? Why? Why? Huh? Yes, because what do we want? Sambandhana, Abhideya, Priyojana. These are the three steps. Sambandhana, Abhideya, Priyojana. Sambandhana means knowledge. Knowledge I'm not this body. Knowledge I'm eternal spirit soul. Abhideya means to act in that relationship, which means devotional service. And Priyojana means love of God. Prema, Prayojana, love of God. Who has that love of Krishna? Does Krishna have love of Krishna? It doesn't seem like Krishna has love of Krishna. But his devotees have that love. So we have to go to the best devotees to find out that love. So who are the best devotees? The residents of Vrindavan. So obviously Radharani, Nanda Maharaj, Nanda Yasoda Mai, Cowhead Boys, Jamuna River, Govardhan Hill. So Govardhan Hill has that love for Krishna, and we can get from the devotee. Secondly, who is it easier to approach, Krishna or his devotee? Much easier. It's much easier to approach Krishna, devotee, because devotee is just more easy to approach. But to approach Krishna directly, you're a little careful, not too sure. So Govardhan Hill is devotee of Krishna. And then Krishna himself says, those who say they're my devotees are not my devotees. But those who say they're the devotees of my devotees are my devotees. So again, now 3 reasons for approaching devotee now. 3 reasons. Now another reason that many people approach Krishna with love. So Krishna's affection is divided to all his millions and millions of bhaktas, isn't it? But if you approach a resident of Vrindavan like Govardhan Hill or Radharani or Nanda Maharaj or Madhyasoda, their affection is only towards what? Krishna. It's not split out. Radharani's affection is only towards Krishna. She's affectionate to all her friends, of course, but it's single-minded towards Krishna. It's not split. That Krishna's affection has to be split between his millions and millions of bhaktas, billions of bhaktas. Some are Shantaras, some are Dasyaras, all different rasas. So, in this sense, the residents of Vrindavan, their devotion is eknista. Eknista means single-minded, only towards one object. But Krishna's affection is towards so many. So again, it would seem that the residents of Vrindavan have more affection, because they just have it towards Krishna alone. So for all these reasons, it is recommended we approach the devotee. And Govardhan Hill too, when one goes to Vrindavan, Jamuna River and Govardhan Hill, very merciful. And these we go to and take shelter of. And Jamuna River we do by taking drops on our head or taking bath. And Govardhan Hill we do by doing dandavat or by walking around. This is how we honor. So worshipping Govardhan Hill. While engaged with the Brahmanas who were too involved in the performance of Vedic sacrifice, Krishna and Balaram also saw that the cowherd men were preparing a similar sacrifice in order to pacify Indra, the king of heaven, who is responsible for supplying water. As stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, a devotee of Krishna has strong and firm faith in the understanding that if he is simply engaged in Krishna consciousness and Krishna's transcendental loving service, then he is freed from all other obligations. A pure devotee of Lord Krishna doesn't have to perform any ritualistic function enjoined in the Vedas, nor is he required to worship any demigod. Being a devotee of Krishna, one is understood to have performed all kinds of rituals and worship of demigods. Just by performing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or worshipping demigods, one does not develop devotional service for Krishna. But one who is engaged fully in the service of the Lord has already finished all Vedic injunctions. So one of the offenses to the holy name is to think that sacrifice and activities from the Kamakandya section is the same as chanting the Lord's name. So if you think this, then it's namaparad. And then the second offense is to think that worshipping demigods, you'll get the same benefit as worshipping Krishna. This is also offense. Second offense. And also there's a verse, Swapachutu Giriram, that one whose tongue is vibrating the holy name of the Lord, even if he is born in a family of dog eaters, he is considered qualified to perform Vedic sacrifice. It is understood he studied all the Vedas, he's visited all the places of pilgrimage, and he has all the good qualities of an Aryan. If simply his tongue is vibrating Mahamantra. There's a verse like that. But the smarter Brahmins, they don't think that. What do the smarter Brahmins think?
He's not born in a Brahmin family.
If you're not born in Brahmin family, then you have to be born again. Therefore, when I went to Jagannath Puri, I felt a bit sad because so many temples they wouldn't let me in. at least 4 or 5 big temples, important temples. They just wouldn't let you in at all. Maybe if you went, you might get in. But they wouldn't let us in. But Vrindavan is not so bad. In Vrindavan there is 2 temples they won't let you in. 2, only 2. But in Mayapur, there was, in Jagannath Puri, there's a lot. And of course Lord Jagannath's temple, they also won't let you in. They have guards on the doorways. And when they see you're a non-Hindu, then they may beat you, they may hit you on the legs with a stick, or they may just tell you to go. So if they see, I think even low-class Hindus, Muslims, Harijans, they won't let you in. In order to stop all such activities by his devotees, Krishna wanted to establish devotional service. Krishna knew the cowherd men were preparing for the Indra sacrifice because he is the omniscient personality of Godhead. But as a matter of etiquette, he began to inquire with great honor from Nanda Maharaj. One time I did a campaign in 1980, around about 1918, Ottawa. You know Ottawa? Near Velem, between Phoenix and Velem. And I did it near a river there. And they were doing an Indra Puja. You don't usually see it in the Indian community. Did you ever hear of Indra Puja? They do Indra Puja? And it was the first time I'd seen. And it was near a river, and they did a big Indra Puja. And that was when, you know Bhaktin Cheryl? Cheryl? She was about 3 years old. She was 3 or 4 years old. Her father told me. They came to the campaign. And they came in our bus. And we did some blessing. Father and mother told me they came to a campaign. They said, you blessed. And Bhaktin Cheryl she was about 4 years old. And she remembers it. We did some blessings. So how powerful is our blessing? So many years later, become a devotee. And also at that same place, I remember there was one man, he was doing animal sacrifice, and he had one young boy, Shamit's age, and this boy used to get trance. And he used to walk on those shoes with nails, you know. So we had him come into the bus, and we told the boy to get trance. And in front of us, immediately he got trance. He started acting like Hanuman and puffing his pointing and things like that. And I started talking about that in the evenings, saying actually it's not God consciousness. This is not genuine spiritual life. So the father of the boy took offense and he cursed me to die. He said, you will die in 9 months. So it didn't work. But the word went out that he'd cursed me. He sent one, like Maharaj Parikshit, one snake, but he wasn't so powerful, so it didn't work. So Maharaj Nanda and the other members argued that without satisfying the predominating God, one cannot derive any good result by material activities. This is actually a fact. For example, it is sometimes found that in spite of first-class medical help and treatment by a doctor, a diseased person dies. It is concluded, therefore, that first-class medical treatment or the attempts of a first-class doctor are not in themselves the cause for curing a patient. There must be the hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, a father and mother's taking care of their children is not the cause of the child's comfort. Sometimes it is found that in spite of all care by the parents, the children go bad or die. Therefore, material causes are not sufficient for result. There must be the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanda Maharaj therefore advocated that in order to get good results from agricultural activities, they must satisfy Indra. So Prabhupada is saying, therefore material causes are not sufficient for results. So the example is that someone may go to a doctor and they may have some terrible disease. They may have some terrible disease, but they will get cured. And someone else may go to the doctor with no disease at all, and they may die. So there appears to be some higher arrangement. You understand? There's something higher. It's not just medicine, there appears to be something higher. Or even another example. You can surround yourself with material facility, money, material facility, but you can be in complete anxiety, you can be in distress. Or you can have no material facility, but you can be happy. Like European people, they're very passionate, they surround themselves with material wealth, nice apartment, nice house, nice fancy car and so forth, but still they may be in anxiety or distress. And then you may have people living in the homelands, maybe Transkei or something, and materially they don't have much facility. You know, they got their rondovel or whatever it is, but they appear to be very happy. So it seems there's something higher. So what is that higher thing? It's by the arrangement of Krishna. But in these particular examples I'm giving, Krishna gives, but it's due to our past activity. Do you understand? It's due to our past activity. By past karma, one may have a lot of wealth, but you may be miserable. And we see this many times. And by past karma, you may have no material wealth, but you may be happy. This is by past karma. So Krishna is speaking to his father, he's giving arguments why they shouldn't have the Indra Yagya. My dear father, there is no need to worship the demigod Indra. Everyone has to achieve the result of his own work. We can actually see that one becomes fully busy according to the natural tendency of his work. And according to that natural tendency, all living entities, either human being or demigods, achieve their respective results. All living entities achieve higher or lower bodies and create friends, enemies, or neutral parties only because of their different kinds of work. One should be careful to discharge his duty according to his natural instinct and not divert his attention to the worship of demigods. Let us perform our duties nicely. The proper duty of a Brahmin is to study the Vedas. The proper duty of the royal order, the Kshatriya, is to protect the citizens. And the proper duty of the Vaishya community is agriculture, trade and protection of cows. And the proper duty of the Sudra is to serve the higher classes. So the proper duty of the Brahmanas is to study the Vedas. So Prabhupada actually is trying to create Brahmins. So it is important that we understand this philosophy. He's trying to create Brahmins, more than Brahmins, but Vaishnavas. What is considered more superior, Brahmin or Vaishnava? Huh? Vaishnava, yes. A bona fide Vaishnava has all the good qualities of a Brahmin, but a Brahmin doesn't necessarily have the qualities of a bona fide Vaishnava. Of course, a real bona fide Brahmana means a Vaishnava. But, for instance, you have Vipras. You know what is a Vipra? It means Brahmanas maybe who like to do more like mantras and ceremonies. So Prabhupada didn't do so much ceremonies. Did he do many ceremonies? The first wedding they ever had, you know, Prabhupada described that he told them just to chant, you know, the Mangala Charanam, prayers to the previous Vaishnava, Sri Krishna, Hare Krishna. Basically that was like the wedding. It wasn't what we do here sometimes in all these mantras and things. So Prabhupada didn't really get involved in ceremonies and rituals, because actually this is not so favorable for bhakti. It's not so much favorable for bhakti. But within our Vaishnava tradition, we do have certain ceremonies, bathing ceremonies, abhishek. On the disappearance and the appearance days, we have certain Vedic ceremonies that we do, flowers, puspa, like this. So these are sort of basic ceremonies and so forth. But we don't get so much involved in complicated mantras, ceremonies and so forth. We're more interested in just trying to develop pure bhakti. But in some cases, these types of ceremonies can help bhakti. They can help us a little. They can give us more faith. Just like, when devotees get initiated, then one is supposed to do it in the morning, and there's a whole ritual. You know this ritual? But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta sometimes would give initiation, and it would take 5 seconds. And I've seen Gaudiya Vaishnavas give initiation, and it can take 5 seconds. They just chant one Hare Krishna on the beat. They don't chant. Just give the beats, neck beats, and they give some name. That's it, finished. And when Srila Prabhupada went to Russia, you remember he met that one disciple, and he was going to leave, so he initiated him. There wasn't one big fancy yagya. It wasn't. So, but these ceremonies are there to increase our faith. Because if there's big ceremony, then you'll think this will increase your faith. It increases the disciple's faith, and it can actually also increase the guru's faith, that he thinks he has a disciple. But of course, if the guru is Uttama, then he doesn't need, and that was the case of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So it's important, but we should understand why it's there, and it's there to increase our faith. Certain things increase our faith, so it is there. But sometimes Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would give initiation in the afternoon or evening. But that's not according to, if we want to strictly go according to ceremonies, that's not correct, is it? So we are more interested in bhakti. Bhakti is love and devotion. And bhakti is something internal. It's something inside. Right? And when we have ceremonies, what is that ceremony? Is it something internal or is it something external? External. It's something very external, isn't it? Ceremony, ritual, it's all external. You do it with your senses, your indriyas, whatever it may be. It's a whole big external thing. But the real bhakti is internal. And it's manifested when one's heart becomes soft and one develops some affection. The stage of bhav or rati, lakshitam sa lakshanam, the symptom of rati or bhav is that one's heart becomes very soft. Sneha means soft with affection. Sandratma means heart is becoming soft. So we're more interested in cultivating, genuine bhakti, and this genuine bhakti manifests by the heart becoming soft to what? What does the heart become soft to? Material nature, eating and sleeping, what? To Krishna, chanting Krishna's name, the deity of Krishna, hearing topics of Krishna, heart becomes soft. That means it begins to melt, like ghee in the sun melts. You don't even have to put that ghee in the flame, it just melts in the sun. So one's heart melts when you hear topics of Krishna. One's heart will melt when you see the deity very beautifully dressed. When you see Radha Radhanath beautifully dressed, you feel something. This means one's heart is melting a little. When you hear the holy name, you feel something. When you visit Sri Vrindavan Dham, you feel something. When you see superior Vaishnava, you feel something. And what do you feel? The heart begins to melt, and you begin to feel jubilation. Jubilation, and then even sometimes other things may also come. If we're fortunate, some weeping may also come, if we're very fortunate. Heart, in other words, is becoming soft. So this is very good for bhakti. So this is actually what we want to concentrate on. This is our real business. But in the performance of devotional service, there are certain rituals and ceremonies that is recommended we may do, and we're obliged to do, which we do. But the real point is not the ceremony, but the state of consciousness or the heart. That's more important. One can be doing one yagya or ceremony or arti, or even just ringing the bell while offering prasadam. You're ringing a bell while offering prasadam and saying the mantras. And you can be saying the mantras. You're offering some bhoga to spiritual masters, Srila Prabhupada, and you're ringing a bell. But what are you thinking? What are you thinking in your mind? Can you give me some examples of what you could be thinking? I'm not saying you would be thinking of it, but some different examples of what you could be thinking about.
Usually when we offer prasad, we're offering it to our spiritual master.
But what do we usually end up thinking about though? Huh?
And devotional topics.
Like?
Just now.
You could be ringing the bell and thinking, it seems to be taking longer and longer. Every time I offer it, taking longer and longer. I don't know why this is, You could be thinking, well, bell's making more noise today than it did the other day. You could be thinking how you're going to enjoy this. You could be looking at it and thinking, yeah, that's a nice pakora. Well, that looks really nice. Well, I think I'll keep some of that aside and I'll have double helping of that. As you're ringing the bell, you can be thinking like that. What else? You can be falling asleep. I've seen people do this. Offering and falling asleep, I've seen it. Falling asleep and offering. So we're doing externally, we're doing it, ringing the bell, externally. But what's going on here? Something else. So the idea is that with our mind and our heart, we should be thinking, I'm offering this to my spiritual master, I'm offering this to Srila Prabhupada, I'm offering this to Radha and Krishna, and one should think. If you're fortunate, this is not everyone's able to do this, but if you can think of your spiritual master taking prasadam, if you can think of Srila Prabhupada, some picture in your mind, you visualize a Prabhupada taking prasadam. Or if you're fortunate, you can try to think of Raghunath Das Goswami taking some prasadam. He took a little bit of yogurt every 2-3 days. You can think like that. Or you can think how Radharani, how the gopis prepare prasad. They cook, and then they give to Radharani. Radharani comes and offers it to Krishna. You please take, like that. And they set it all out on leaf plates, and Krishna takes little, little, little. And then when Krishna's finished, then one of the manjaris comes and takes and gives to Lalita. And Lalita Devi, because she's the foremost of the gopis, then she gives out to everyone equally. You can think like this, So if one is thinking like that, then that's very good. So it may be that we don't have a bell to ring. Or it may be that we don't have offering plates. You understand? But we try to do some offering. So in our mind, we may sit down and we may think of Guru Dev, Srila Prabhupada taking prasadam, or Mahaprabhu. You remember in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's many stories of how Mahaprabhu would sit down and take wonderful prasadam feast. So in your mind, you don't have the you don't have the bell, you don't have the stainless steel plate, you don't have all these items. Let's just say, for example. So you sit down and you meditate and you think of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or your spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. Let's say Mahaprabhu, golden body, and he's sitting down with his associates. Who is associates? Nityananda, Advaita, Sarup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, and they're taking prasadam. You're putting and they're taking. Your spiritual master is also there, Srila Prabhupada is also there. And you offer, and then you say the prayers. Right? So which is better? To do that, or big seat, and you're ringing your bell, video cameras are there, taking pictures of you and everything, you know. And you're ringing the bell, and you're thinking, wow, now some fame at last. People are looking at me, you know. So you're doing, externally you're doing everything right. You're ringing the bell and it's... So which is better? That all the external items are there, but inside your heart, nothing? Or you don't have any external items, but inside your heart is bhakti. So which is better? Huh? Which is better?
The one with no items.
Yes, obviously. Because bhakti is what we're interested in. We're not interested in all these external bhakti. That is the best. And quite often, all these external items can sometimes even confuse you, and sometimes take you away. Sometimes can even reduce bhakti a little, because you're too much involved in external items. You see? So we should remember that. The principle is bhakti, and that's in everything. Chanting Hare Krishna, offering, doing puja. We're trying to offer our heart. So this is the most important thing. And although there may be some external show, like disciple may come to Guru and may bow down, so that's an external show, isn't it? But in their heart, there may be no bhakti. They may be thinking, how many more times I have to do this before I can start having some disciples, and then they can do it to me. Anything you can be thinking about, you know. Or, you know, I've got real bad backache, or I already did it once today and that's it, finished. I mean, so many things can go through your mind. Or it could be that one sees a senior devotee, doesn't have to be one spiritual master, but one sees senior devotee, and you actually want to offer your respects, but you're not able to. For some reason or other, maybe it's just not possible, not convenient, you're carrying something, but in your heart there is some feeling. So which is better? Obviously to have some feeling, isn't it? So this is we're trying to develop bhakti, love. This is we should always understand this. So this is the main point behind all our activities. So this is a very important point, because to become too much attached, involved, or to put too much emphasis on external arrangement is more like a Vaidhi type concept, you know. And this can be taken to the nth degree. This can be taken until you become more like a smarta Brahmin, you know. Smarta Brahmin means one is only interested in doing you know, external rituals and so forth, and in the heart no bhakti at all. But even in ISKCON there can be that smarta Brahmin type mood where one gets a little too much caught up in some external show and then misses out on bhakti. The bhakti is not there. So we should we're more interested in developing feelings of bhakti, and this actually is pleasing to Krishna. You know, I gave the example the other day that when Krishna went to Dwarka, he went to see Vidura, and Vidura, of course, is a great devotee of Krishna. But Vidura, he was a Brahmin and very poor. So Krishna came to his house, and Vidura wanted to offer him some food, but didn't have anything but bananas, you know. So Vidura, in great excitement, was peeling the bananas and throwing away the banana and giving Krishna the peel. Here you are, my lord. And he was so excited, he was throwing away the banana, giving Krishna the peel. So what was Krishna doing? Accepting that and eating with great relish. So what does it mean he's accepting? The love. But if a neophyte kanishta, if a person too much caught up in Vaidhi or a kanishta, if a low class devotee saw that, he would say offense. He'd say aparad. Immediately he'd say aparad. Isn't it? If we go and offer banana peel to Krishna on the altar, what is that? Aparad. Because we're not like Vidura. That's why. So, but the most important thing is that bhakti, that love. So Vidura is throwing away the banana, giving Krishna the peel, and Krishna is taking it. But if a kanishta comes and sees that kanishta, will say aparad. But actually, the kanishta is an aparad. If you're saying it's an aparad to a uttama. You understand? So these people are like that. Lower class persons will be too much caught up and thinking, you know, rules and regulations. But because they don't have so much bhakti, all they have is that rules and regulations. And if that goes, then what? Nothing. So that's the only thing they have. So at least let them have that. Do you understand? So our mood, or the mood of the Goswamis, is bhakti. Just like you know, the Goswamis worship Govardhan Shila, Raghunath Das Goswami worship Govardhan Shila, but he didn't have elaborate puja items. You know, he didn't have, I mean, he just used to wander around. But what did he have? Bhakti. And then Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami was worshipping, this is Radharaman. So Radharaman, you know, self-manifested deity. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami was worshipping, I think it was 10 or 12 Shalagram Shilas. One of them was a Damodar Shila. And some or other Gopal Bhatta Goswami desired that he could dress his Shila. It's very difficult to dress a stone. Of course, this is what they say he desired. But this is also questionable. Anyhow, some or other that Shila manifested as Radharaman, very famous Radharaman. Now, many times, Gopal Bhatta Goswami would put his deities in the hollow of a tree. In the hollow of a tree. So you can imagine, you know, I mean, there's not much room for your incense stand, and I mean, where's your arti paraphernalia? In other words, he didn't have all the stuff we have upstairs. And they were just traveling around. So it wasn't like he was had a whole lot of stuff to carry around. So he had very basic stuff. Many probably he didn't have a lot of items. But he had bhakti. He had best bhakti, highest bhakti. So the Lord accepted. And then one time, Sanatana Goswami was worshipping his deity. Sanatana Goswami's deity is called what? Who knows? Madan Mohan. So he's worshipping Madan Mohan. You know a very nice story? That Sanatana Goswami, so I can get it right. This explains the point I'm making. Sanatana Goswami, one time he went to Mathura, and he saw in one yard, a Brahmin lady was living, a Vaishnavi, a lady was living, and to his amazement, he saw in the yard Krishna playing with a young boy in that yard. They were playing that stick game. What's that stick? We hit with a stick and then it goes up. What's it called?
Kuliganda.
Gulagandi. That's exactly what they were playing. Gulagandi. Gula?
Kuliganda.
Gulagandi. It's what they call it in India also. They were playing that game. Krishna was playing with a sucker. Sanatana Goswami was amazed. So he looked, quietly he looked. And then he saw after they played that Krishna went to the lady, the Vaishnavi, and had something to eat. And Sanatana Goswami was, very, very impressed. Then after Krishna had ate with the cowherd boy, they went off to play somewhere else. So Sanatana Goswami was looking very carefully. And then he saw after the lady had fed Krishna, and she said she had two sons, Krishna and this other boy. And then the lady, she took bath. So Sanatana Goswami thought, just a minute, this is not right. She should have bath first. Then she should cook, and then she should give Krishna. How is it she's taking a bath afterwards? He asked. And she said, no, she doesn't have time in the morning. She has to cook for Krishna, and only then she has a bath. And she cleans her teeth. So Sanatana Goswami was thinking, this is not right, because you're supposed to clean your teeth first and then you do puja, isn't it? So Sanatana Goswami, she told the lady and said, I don't think this, I think you should first take bath. Clean your teeth, take bath, and then you cook for Krishna. I think this is better. So this Vaishnavi, she was very submissive and she accepted. So next day, Sanatana, again, he was there because he wanted to see Krishna. It was an amazing opportunity to see Krishna. And Krishna came and he was playing Guliganda. I used to play Guliganda. And they're playing Guliganda. They do this in Vrindavan on the bank of the river Jamuna. The boys play Guliganda. And Krishna also used to play Guliganda. So it's bona fide. So Krishna, Sanatana Goswami saw Krishna, and he was playing. And then when he finished playing, he went to the lady and said, we're hungry, can you please feed? And then the lady said, you just have to wait a little bit, I haven't finished yet. You have to wait more. Because why she's not finished? Because it's taking her longer today. Why is it taking longer? Because she took bath first. And then Krishna waited, and then he began to cry. And he was getting very impatient. And then he ran off. And then Sanatana Goswami realized that he made a mistake. And he went back to the lady and said, what you were doing before, just carry on doing. You carry on doing that. Because, you have the bhakti. The bhakti is there. And although the rules and regulations like cleaning your teeth before you come in the kitchen, although you're not doing that, there's so much bhakti there that's what's pleasing Krishna. So Sanatana Goswami could understand from that. Krishna put him through that example. And then later, Sanatana Goswami also had his deity Madan Mohan. And he used to offer Madan Mohan some chapati. And this chapati he would beg also. Like when we were in Vrindavan, we begged. We crossed the river Jamuna one time, and we went and begged some, what do they call it? Roti? But it had the filling inside. Because, I don't know what they call it, but you can go to any house and you can beg roti and dahi, yogurt. Of course, it's buffalo and milk, yogurt mixed together with water. And they'll give you, any house will give you. And the nice thing about it is the roti is that it's made from grains. And probably they grew the grains. It's not that they probably grew those grains, because they're all farmers. They all have their little farms. And then they ground and then they cook themselves. These are bridge buses cooking. So you can't get better than that. So we would beg. And they give you as much as you want. It's very nice. So Sananda Goswami, he offered his roti to his deity Madan Mohan, and maybe he also begged because he didn't have cooking stuff. The Goswamis, they used to do maduka, which means they used to beg. Maduka means like a bee. You go one place, you just take little, you go to another place, take a little. You see? Like a bee takes little honey here, little honey there. So maduka. So all the Goswamis were doing this. They were begging a little here, then a little there. So Sanatan, he begged little chapati, puri, roti. He offered to his deity. And then the deity said to him, it'd be very nice if you could offer a little bit of salt also. So Sananda Goswami said, now, he said, well, I only do maduka and I just accept whatever people give me. And if you want salt, now next you'll be wanting something else and else. And now why don't you just be satisfied with whatever I give you? That was his mood. But this is out of love and affection. So it seems like Sanatan wasn't offering salt, but there was no offense, But now if we skip the salt on the plate upstairs, then what? So they'll come and say aparad or something. Of course, if we're pure devotee or we're uttama and we forget salt, it's different. But if we're kanishta or like madhyam and we forget salt, then we should try to remember. We should try to do as best we can. But the real point is bhakti. And if the bhakti is there, then where's the harm? Like when Raghunath Das Goswami is worshipping Govardhan Shila, you know how he worshipped Govardhan Shila? The tears from his eyes would go onto the Shila. And that's how he did his puja. So that's bhakti. And that's what we must also do. So the point of this, the point I'm making is we can try to appreciate the real purpose is bhakti. And if the heart has some bhakti or we're going in that direction, then that's the most important thing. And the bhakti in the heart, we can know it's increasing when our heart is becoming softer. Softer means it begins to melt like wax or ghee or honey. And little bit sunshine, honey or ghee will melt. So the heart begins to melt, and it melts when we meet devotees, senior devotee, when we hear the holy name, when we chant Krishna, when we see deity beautifully dressed, Mahaprabhu, Radha Krishna, when we visit Sri Vrindavan Dham on some disappearance day or appearance day, we begin to feel some affection or something. It means our heart is melting. This is very, very good. And this is our only business actually. Our only business is try to make our heart melt in contact with Krishna, his holy name, his deity, like that. And when it melts all the time, then that's prema, love of God. The definition of prema is that one's heart becomes very affectionate, and then no material contamination, because naturally there cannot be any material contamination there. Just like karmis, when they become very attached to their family members, and they see some family member and they become very emotional, isn't it? Their heart begins to melt. Or they see their favorite film star on TV, and their heart begins to melt. Or they see their idol, whoever it may be, Michael Jackson, some person is their idol. They become very excited, and their heart begins to melt. Same principle, but now ours is towards Krishna, Radha and Krishna, towards Mahaprabhu, towards previous acharyas, Guru, Gauranga. You take a kami and you take him back to his birthplace, and what will he do? He become very quiet. You may start to cry, think, oh, I spent so many years there. And you go back to Tongat after so many years, and you go, it's my birthplace. Oh, look, that's where I was born. Oh. Isn't it? I used to think like that when I was a commie, how it'd be nice to go back to where I was born and look at those places, because I lived in so many different places in England. I didn't live in the same place. We traveled around. So I used to think, one day I'll go back to that same place. And I think, oh, that's where I used to play, and that's where I used to live, and that's where I went to school. You know. So now we feel that, but towards Krishna. This is Sri Vrindavan Dham, or this is River Jamuna, this is Govardhan Hill, or here's the temple. This is where I used to chant all my rounds. This is where I performed my service years ago. This is the deity. This is the room that I stayed in. I used to chant my rounds. So the heart melts, but it has to be for Krishna and his paraphernalia, tadiya. So then this means bhakti is coming, and this is very good. So we should do anything that facilitates this. Anukul means favorable. Anything we should associate with any person or hear anything or do anything which increases this affection, increases his bhakti in our heart. And anything which takes away this affection or bhakti in our heart, we should avoid. So we should do that which is favorable, and we should reject that which is not favorable. For making the heart more softer and developing more affection for Krishna, deity, holy name like that. So, any questions?
Sentimental or one's heart is becoming softer.
When we are younger devotee, it may be sentimental, and maybe also, in other words, you're saying material emotion, spiritual emotion. Material emotion, we can call it material sentimentality, and spiritual emotion is very good. So when you're more neophyte devotee, then it's mixed. Right? But as you become more advanced, it becomes less material emotion and more spiritual. And when you become advanced devotee, it's all spiritual emotion. So, when you're on the stage of Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. So there may be, I don't know, whatever, 50-50. When you come to the stage of like Nishta, then maybe less material and more spiritual. When you come to the stage of Ruchi, then definitely much more spiritual emotion. And when you come to the stage of Ashakti, 85-90% spiritual. And when you come to the stage of Bhav, you can understand that there's no material emotion in the heart at all. So it depends on what stage you're at. If a new devotee comes to the temple and they're chanting the Lord's name and some tears are coming, but they've only been devotee for a few months, then we can say nice, but it's not, we're not going to be that impressed. But when Srila Prabhupada sits on Vyasasan and some tears come from his eyes, then what? Then we can know it's very deep, isn't it? Why? Because he's on prema. So it depends who is the person. So Kanishta will be more material emotion than spiritual. Madhyam will probably be half-half. But then there's different stages of Madhyam. There's lower Madhyam, medium Madhyam, and upper Madhyam. And when you come to Uttama, then it can be understood all spiritual. All spiritual. Any other questions?
People's heart becomes soft, and some people's heart becomes softer quickly.
Anarthas, material desires, because material desires make your heart hard. Material desires can make your heart so hard. So, as anarthas, material desires means anarthas, as these anarthas leave, then bhakti comes. And in that percentage, that anarthas leave, in that percentage bhakti comes. Bhakti meaning, ruchi, ashakti, bhav and prema. And to that percentage in our heart there are anarthas. So if our heart is 50% anarthas, then 50% can be bhakti. If our heart is 25% anarthas, then 75% bhakti. That's how it works.
If it's half, like half and half, is there any advancement?
Oh yes. Yes. It's not bad. It's been described that that's all right. But anarthas slow us down. They slow us down. And aparad can strangle us, can stop our bhakti. But anarthas slow us down. Anarthas slow down your advancement. It means material desires. Slow down your advancement. But bhakti is so powerful that even if you have material desires, but you're practicing bhakti properly, slowly those material desires will go.
Krishna sends us so many tests, different tests. But He is the Supreme, so He already knows what we're going to do before we even do it. So why does He send us so many if He just knows what we're going to do?
Does Krishna know what we're going to do?
Said Krishna knows past, present, and future. So, what does it mean that he knows what's?
Krishna knows past, present, and future. But in the spiritual world, Krishna wants to meet the gopis. He wants to meet Radharani. But he's thinking, maybe I won't be able to meet her. If he knows he's going to meet her, where's the rust? So Yoga Maya starts controlling things, and even Krishna doesn't know what's going to happen. And sometimes Krishna can't even meet. He can't meet. He can't meet Radharani. He doesn't meet her. And he's in complete anxiety. So in Vrindavan, Yoga Maya even bewilders Krishna, and Krishna doesn't know what is going on. Otherwise there can't be rasa. And Krishna is sending us tests, but he wants to bring us higher and higher and higher. So he's giving us tests to bring us higher. So the understanding is this, that Krishna says, Savadhamam Parityajya. What's the rest? Savadhamam Parityajya. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall protect you from all varieties of sinful action. Do not fear. So we surrender to Krishna. So what happens to our karma? Krishna takes it away. So why are we suffering? No, what if we do surrender?
It's mercy. Krishna is merciful.
Why is Krishna giving us more suffering? You know, now there's different stages. Shraddha, Sadhu, Sangha, you know this? Bhajana Kriya, Nishta. And then after Nishta, Ruchi, Shakti, Bhav. So, if you surrender to Krishna, it's more or less understood you've come to Nishta. To surrender is a difficult thing, but let's say we have surrendered. So that's Nishta, Nishtata. Stage of steady devotional service. No more karma. But you're not on prema. How far you have to go from Nishta to? What's the next one? You have to know these off by heart. Ruchi. From Ruchi to Ashakti. From Ashakti to Bhav. From Bhav to That can take 100,000 lifetimes. Or it can take one lifetime if we're fortunate and we get mercy. It can take many lifetimes. It can take 2 or 3 lifetimes if we get mercy. So how do we get from there? All our karma is gone. So we're not receiving any. So Krishna gives us karma. He gives us karma. He gives us test. He gives us problem. So we have to surrender more to him, and we can slowly go from Nishta to Ruchi. And he will continue to give us tests so we can go from Ruchi to our Shakti. And he will continue to give us tests so we can go from our Shakti to Bhav. And he will continue to give us so we can go from Bhav to Prema. So he gives us tests. But these tests, generally, they come in the same shape and it looks like our karma. In other words, you may have had some illness before. And then you become a devotee, you come to Nishtita, steady devotional service at least. Your karma is taken away, but you continue to be ill. And it seems to be the same illness as it was when you were a kami. But that's because Krishna is continuing to give you a test, but it's coming in the same shape as that illness, but it's not actually from previous karma.
When he sends you karma,
He sends you karma, and it may be of the same illness that you had when you were a kami. It may come in that same package, shape, size, whatever it is. But it's not. It's Krishna's personally giving it to you to take you higher and higher and higher and higher.
but does it always take us higher, or is it possible that we can also go lower?
No, he wants to take you back.
That will always happen.
Yeah, so he will take you back. Slowly, he will take you back. If you do aparad, then you may fall down for one lifetime, but then again you'll carry on next lifetime. But his idea is to take you back, because you're on nishta, but you don't have prema, love of Godhead, but you have no karma. So how are you going to go higher? We need something to push us to go a little higher. So Krishna gives us little test, puts us in different awkward situations sometimes. Sometimes someone may criticize us, and we have to be very humble. Now it's not that we criticize someone